Do you consider education to be a fundamental part of a well-rounded society? I would hope that most of your answers would be yes. For the US to be a successful country, we need to respect our teachers and educational administration more. Our teachers affect the way a lot of us will grow up. From the ages of about only 5 to the rest of our lives, really, teachers will affect our opinions on certain topics. Ever since I was a young kid, I've always kind of been a teacher's pet, I must admit it, and I always learned better when my teachers were happier and you could just tell they enjoyed their job. It made me want to learn. In a study from CNBC written in 2022 by Morgan Smith, states that over 300,000 teachers have left the profession between 2020 and 2022 alone. This has risen from most places about 9%, so let's say that, to about 11%, which may not seem like much in water terms, but in real life, that's about 1 teacher for every 50. So in a school about 50 teachers, 1 more teacher has quit every year than usual, which really is a lot when you think about it, because that's 1 more position that needs to be filled by administration. I think education is important to everyone. Teacher burnout, low staff issues, and low wages are some complications of teaching that need to be addressed. The rate of teacher burnout is only going up the last few years. Research from Gallup, an article titled K-12 has the highest burnout rate in US, states that the gap between burnout in other industries and burnout in teaching is only increasing, and there's no sign of it going down anytime soon. There are many reasons that teacher burnout is such a big problem. For example, parent and student dynamics. A lot of teachers have problems when their student doesn't have a good family life and doesn't have parents at home who will help them get through their problems that they need to at home. Again, another thing is state required curriculum is always changing, so teachers always have to change their weekly schedules by what the government is telling them to do, and so that's another thing that adds stress. And political environment is also very stressful. Teachers have to be very careful about what they're saying in their classes. For example, critical race theory is a big deal right now, and history teachers especially have to be really careful about what histories they're teaching, to what ages, and how they can explain things like critical race theory. It makes teachers very stressed out, and they feel that they are being watched and ridiculed by administration and their children's parents alike. COVID was also very stressful for teachers. Many did not have any preparation with online teaching, and really we'll see the repercussions to come because kids were not getting the education that they really needed. Though teacher burnout is becoming more and more difficult for teachers to deal with, the low staff in schools is certainly not helping. There have been more and more staff issues than have ever been seen in the past. There's been a decline in student enrollment, so seniors going into teaching programs, and there are less and less qualified applicants coming into the teacher workforce. For example, in my class, about 30 students, I'm the only one that is planning on going into teaching. And normally for other classes, it has been a lot more, especially like 10 years ago or so. An article written by Liam Knox states that between 2008 and 2009, student teacher enrollment has gone down by about a third. So that means that, say there were this many students going into teaching, there is now only about this many, which is a huge decline than has been from the past. And this was a report done by the American Association of Colleges for Teacher Education, done in 2022. So the high stress for this teaching career mixed with the low wages is what really gets like my mind boggled, because it's such a high stress career. Why would you not get paid to reflect the high stress? An article from the Pew Research Center from January 2022 titled "Teachers Beaten Down by Staff Shortages, COVID" states that teachers are dealing with more than they can handle, especially from what they are getting paid. Tanya Wessenberg, a principal from Lauren Ridge Elementary School in Fairfax County, Virginia, has been a principal for over 8 years. And this year has been one of the most draining and stressful years that she has ever been through. For example, before there used to be about 1 to 2 students gone in her school every year. Teachers gone from her school every year, and now there is more like 10 to 20 students gone every year. So that's about 10 times the amount that there normally was in the past. And this is out of a teaching administration of about 85 teachers. So that's a lot of teachers gone, from 10 to 20 teachers. That's a lot. This leads to insignificant learning for the students and more stress for the other teachers who are there and having to cover for the teachers who are gone. The low staff mixed with the low wages and low pay for a high-stress job is really just terrible. The Pew Research Center in 2019 states that 1 in 6 teachers need a second job in order to have a comfortable life. This is 3 times more than other careers. So that means if this is a normal career, it's 3 times more likely if you're a teacher to have to hold a second job, which in my opinion is just ridiculous. And then one of my teachers here at school actually just quit, and in order to fill that spot, we had to hire somebody who didn't have any of the right credentials or anything, and you can really see the deficit with the students because they didn't really learn much. They basically just watched videos the whole time, and now next year we're actually having a retired teacher come back because we couldn't find anybody else to fill that position. I also did a local teacher interview to back up some of my points. She states that what's really frustrating is that a couple months ago, Mayo employees got a 6% raise, and teachers are seeing no raises or nothing. So that's really frustrating for her. And then the administration, she explains, gives them no respect or really kindness in any way to help with the stress that they're already added to. If anything, the administration just adds to the stress. COVID was also very stressful for her. She had to rewrite all of her lesson plans because they didn't fit in with the online learning, and students could cheat super easily. So she had to rewrite all of her lessons, and she also felt like she was teaching to no one, that none of the students were listening to her, and again, she wasn't teaching to anyone. She explains that something must change or else we're going to have more and more problems throughout the future and trying to find more teachers. And she explains that we can change something by more school funding, which will lead to more teachers getting paid more amounts, and that will also lead to more respect from administration, parents, and students alike. There's a lot of research that backs up how teachers are struggling now more than ever before. And there are many things that go along with this struggling. Teacher burnout, low staff, and low wages are just a few of the things that go along with the stress that teachers have to deal with. A 2019 study done by Carver Thomas and Darlene Hammond, they say that the teachers' attitudes really affects all throughout the school. If teachers aren't satisfied with their jobs and are unhappy, you will see that throughout the students, throughout the administration, throughout the entire community, because the students just aren't getting what they need from unhappy teachers. Teachers have a huge impact on our lives, and they can affect the rest of our futures. So I hope that after this speech, you guys will leave with more respect than you had towards the teaching profession.
Yeah.
Any questions? Yeah?
Yeah, why did you decide to base your speech off of teaching?
Why did I decide to base my speech off of teaching? I want to be a teacher in the future, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to learn more about teaching.
Why do you still want to go into teaching knowing all of the downfalls?
Why do I still want to go into teaching knowing all the downfalls? I think every career has downfalls, and I think I would still really like it because I always loved teaching my peers and my other siblings.
What's the biggest reason so many teachers are quitting?
The biggest reason so many teachers are quitting, probably, I think it's different for everybody, but I think mostly because it's so stressful and because of the pay.
What's your biggest worry going into teaching?
What's my biggest worry going into teaching? Probably the pay, again, because I want to have a family someday, and I just want to make sure I'm making enough money to support my family and not have to be stressed about money.
How do you think this problem can be fixed?
How can this problem be fixed? I think if schools get more state funding, that will lead to better overall everything, because students or teachers will get more pay and the administration will be able to help teachers better.
Why is this affecting teachers now more than ever?
Why is this affecting teachers now more than ever? Probably because of COVID. I think that really stressed teachers out more, and it also made inflation go way up. So teachers are also having to spend more money on things and aren't making any more money than before.